Okay, so this is the third budget presentation that we've had this season, and as you know, on April 8th, the board will be adopting the 2014-15 budget. So tonight what I'd like to do is to go through the budget once again and give a little bit more detail, in particular to the areas of reduction that were mentioned at our last meeting. So the current school budget, the 2013-14 budget, is in the amount of $75,726,680. That's this year's budget. The proposal for next year is, as you see there, $76,919,403. That accounts for the maximum allowable tax levy increase of 3.21%. Remember that that number is calculated based upon a complicated formula. It's available in the back of the room for those who might wish to follow that. But it includes for us some exemptions on capital work in the district, including the new turf field, the repointing project that was approved by the voters in December, also the capital construction of our middle school, and the extra abatement costs. So our budget moving forward into next year is in the amount of $76,919,403. Due to that figure, the budget can be no more than 1.192723 of this year's current budget. And as we've spoken before in the past meetings, there are some increased expenditures to the district this year of note, of significant note. The New York State Teacher Retirement System contribution will be $402,000. Health insurance for this coming year, an additional $403,000. Additional costs in Social Security, $71,328, and workers' comp of just over $35,000. Those increases alone, as you can see, total $912,343, and of that figure above, it leaves only $280,380 for all of the other expenditures and contractual obligations that we have as a district. We spoke in the past several meetings about all the different components of our budget. You can see these here on the top of the funnel, and the great challenge moving forward into the next school year is to find out how much of those programs we can continue to fund, at what rate, to maintain the level of excellence that we have in our district. We know that to move forward into this next budget year with programs and services intact as they currently exist in our district requires a reduction of $1.35 million. And that has been the great challenge of this budget season, is to find those savings. Attributed in great part to the gap elimination adjustment, which this year will cost Eastchester over $700,000. The allowable levy, the state aid figure, tuition payments which are down, all of which really contribute to the challenge of this budget year. And so what I'd like to do tonight is to talk a bit more about the reductions that were outlined at the last meeting, just put a little bit more level of detail on those. And they include reduced printing and mailings, reduction in school building, central office, and athletic operating budgets, the withdrawal of our high school from the Collaborative High School Consortium, the reduction of 3 FTE, again, FTE meaning full-time equivalent teaching assistants, 7 FTE teachers, and 5.2 FTE support staff. So let's look at the costs of printing and mailing, which we believe will save the district approximately $20,000 in this upcoming year. And that would include an electronic district calendar, okay, in lieu of the printed calendar, as well as some of our electronic newsletters in this coming year. It would include typical mailings that we have to parents, including student schedules, report cards, progress reports, and other types of letters that we mail home routinely. To the extent possible, we are going to deliver these now electronically through our new parent portal, which many of our parents belong to already, the Home Access Center. So making greater reliance on that, and again, coming up with cost savings of $20,000 in that effort. If we went back 10 years ago, you would have found that our building budgets were quite a bit healthier, operating budgets for materials and supplies in the buildings. One of the savings over the past decade has been to hold those budgets and to gradually reduce them. And in this coming year, we are reducing all of our school buildings, our central office, and our athletic budgets by an additional 10%. This actually takes the levels of these budgets back to prior to 2009 levels. So, I want to thank the principals and building administrators for their ability to work within these constraints. But again, we're looking for savings in every aspect that we can find. Let's talk a little bit about the Collaborative High School. The Collab High School, as mentioned earlier, it's an alternative option to our traditional high school setting. It's a program that has a core high school curriculum but provides access for students with more distinct needs, in particular therapeutic needs. Without being members of the consortium moving forward, the district can still enroll students in the Collaborative High School. We do that through Southern Westchester BOCES. The program in its initial formulation involved 3 school districts: Eastchester, Port Chester, and White Plains. White Plains pulled out of the consortium 3 years ago. Port Chester pulled out last year. And in terms of the number of students in the Collaborative High School for us here in Eastchester, we began this year with 6 students. Currently, there are 3 students in that program, and 2 will be graduating next year. So we're looking for some savings in the Collaborative High School, and that will enable us to reduce 1 teacher and 1 teaching assistant, which is part of the membership that we hold in that consortium, in addition to a $50,000 fee. So there's a significant savings for us in that move. We have reductions in teaching assistants. The first one coming from the Collaborative High School. So again, the impact in terms of level of support in our district's 5 buildings is not impacted by that. The other 2 teaching assistants that are slated for reduction are 1 from Ann Hutch and 1 from Greenvale Elementary School. And we will manage the needs of students there through a restructuring of the support models that we have for those students. The reductions include 1 teaching position, as mentioned before. It's a special education teacher from the Collaborative High School. Again, that reduction does not impact the level of support in our district's 5 school buildings. Currently, we have 1 special education teacher in our elementary schools in each of grades 2, 3, 4, and 5 at Ann Hutch and at Greenvale. At Ann Hutchinson, currently in 5th grade, there are 2 special education teachers, and that's there to address the diverse needs of students in that particular grade level. These students are now moving on to the middle school, and so one of our reductions is going to be that position in 5th grade. The middle school has the staffing and the programs moving forward for those students at the middle school. There are 2 reductions in this proposed budget coming from Ann Hutchinson. The first one is a result of attrition. Let me explain what that is exactly in real numbers. The current 5th grade at Ann Hutchinson has 125 students. Those students are moving into the middle school. The incoming 2nd grade at Ann Hutch for this coming year is 79 students. So there's a differential there of 46 students. So one of those reductions is a result of that attrition, and the second is coming from raising class size, which if we kept it at 4 teachers, the class size would be 19.75. Currently that number is 26.33, which is a higher number than we would like it to be. In reality, that number is not very far off the Greenvale 2nd grade class size for next year, which is 25.33. So there is a reduction of 2 sections at Ann Hutchinson. 1 position of reduction comes from the literacy enrichment program at Waverly. Currently, that program is in lieu of a library program at the Waverly School only. Moving forward, rather than continuing with this skill-based literacy enrichment program, we're returning to a more traditional library program to give the students an opportunity to appreciate different aspects of literacy that are not directly related to the program. In part, this is due to the work of our Reading Wonders program and enhancements in our program, but there is 1 reduction there, and that's a move away from literacy enrichment, moving that teacher into a classroom. The additional teaching reductions, approximately 2 FTE, again, full-time equivalent, will be coming from our high school. All right, and this will not be any 1 individual, but it will be a component of many different sections, perhaps a 0.2 in various different subjects that will bring us to 2 FTE. Again, this is to be consistent with class size as we have it in our middle school and in our elementary schools. The support staff reductions of 5.2 FTE include 3.7 district-wide employees, 1.5 of which from the high school. I don't want to go into great detail in this presentation with those positions. These positions would be very easily identifiable with individuals, so this is not really the forum to discuss that. But these are reductions that don't directly impact students, but they certainly impact our program. They impact our services in the district and our ability to support the fine program. So, it's important to realize that these cuts are coming from across the spectrum, and 5.2 of those cuts are in support staff. So on this page, you can see the summary of the reductions that were just outlined, the 7 FTE teachers, where they're coming from, the 3 FTE teaching assistants, the 5.2 support staff. As I said last meeting, this budget reflects the urgency of difficult circumstances. And in developing this budget, it has been my challenge, certainly, to maintain the core and the integrity of our educational programs, to continue to provide opportunities for students to grow intellectually, emotionally, physically, and socially. We have an obligation to our taxpayers to run a streamlined, efficient organization and to be faithful stewards of their investment. We have an obligation to provide a level of excellence and distinction that Eastchester parents, students, and community have come to expect. And we must deliver on these aspirations with a leaner staff, with constricted resources, but with a renewed spirit and persistence. It's important to know that these reductions have been very difficult to carve out, very difficult, and there's certainly no joy in presenting these. I wish that were not the case, but it is our reality. The staffing moving forward into this next year, as far as sections, Waverly will maintain 20 sections in the K-1 program from 20 to 20, and Hutch, as noted earlier, will diminish from 19 to 17. Greenville will stay at 23. Our total elementary sections will move from 62 this year to 60 in the coming. These are the class size ranges. Estimate, of course, at the moment for Waverly, because we're still going on with the kindergarten enrollment at this time, the registration. So we're projecting for average class sizes of 23. But you can see the class sizes are growing in the district, and this is a concern for us. This is the reality. These are the cuts over the past 5 years through the gap elimination, through the tax levy cap. These are the difficult things that we've had to do, and so these are the numbers as we see them today in the proposed budget. The district is given 2 opportunities to pass its budget. The first vote is on May 20th. Were that to fail, we would have an opportunity to put forth another vote for your consideration. Were that budget to fail, would fail to pass, then the tax levy increase would move to 0. And we are targeting right now $1.34 million in reductions, but a 0 increase would require $3.47 million in reductions. Certainly, as you look at that last bullet, this would have a much deeper impact on programs, services, and opportunities for students, and the very possible elimination of about 30 positions district-wide. The vote is May 20th from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. at Eastchester High School gym at the Garth Road Community Center for Garth Road residents. We always keep in mind the mission of our district. The challenge is in front of us. We need to do this. We need to deliver the best program for our students. We will do that. These are difficult budget times, and as I said, the board will be adopting the 2014-15 budget at the next meeting on April 8th.